Have you ever looked into her eyes and felt a storm you couldn't name? A sweetness that dulled your caution? A gaze that made you forget the edge of your own sword? Brother, this is not poetry. This is design. There is a realm of knowledge that modern man has abandoned. Not because it is false, but because it is too costly to know. Socrates did not avoid this knowledge. He walked into it, and what he discovered was not a hatred of women, but a truth about them that still stalks the soul of man today. He warned not with bitterness, but with fire-tempered reason, that where men are forged by clarity, women are formed in layers of smoke. He did not say this to degrade, but to awaken. For what is veiled cannot be trusted blindly, and what enchants must first be understood before it devours. Men of Athens laughed at him, the jurors condemned him, but he smiled in the face of their ignorance, because he knew a man who understands a woman only as she appears and not as she functions is like a soldier seduced by the shimmer of his enemy's blade, beautiful and fatal. Socrates taught in questions, so ask yourself, why does she desire power in the shadows? Why is her affection so often mixed with strategy? Why does her silence speak more than her words? If you do not ask, you will not see. And if you do not see, you will kneel not out of devotion, but delusion in the Republic. Socrates described the just soul balanced, ruled by reason, not enslaved by appetite or impulse. But what of a man who builds his life around a woman whose nature he does not understand? That man is not building a soul. He is building a shrine to confusion. He spoke of the tyrant soul, one LED by desire, always thirsty, never still gentleman. How many men today wear the suit of reason while chained by the lust for feminine approval? How many build kingdoms not for legacy, but to impress a woman who would not stay once the walls are breached? Understand, Socrates was not warning you of her. He was warning you of you when you do not know her nature. She is not your enemy. She is not your savior. She is the test, and every man must pass it, or be broken beneath the weight of his illusions. You are taught to look for beauty, but Socrates knew beauty is the bait. What matters is the intention behind it. And this, he said, is where men fail. You chase form and forget essence. You chase her touch and forget her pattern. You do not study, you fall. And when you fall, she does not catch you, not because she is cruel, but because nature has not designed her to. She selects, she tests, she adapts, but she does not build. That is your burden, that is your curse and your crown. A man, Socrates said, must live examined. That includes your thoughts of her. That includes your needs, your weakness, your longing. If these are not examined, she will see what you refuse to and use it, not maliciously, but necessarily. For just as the river does not hate the rock it erodes, the woman does not hate the man she outmaneuvers. She is simply following her nature. But are you following yours? Socrates lived surrounded by men who misunderstood power, who thought it was found in votes, in silver, in applause. But he knew power belongs to the man who cannot be deceived, especially by what he loves. That is the beginning. You are not born to orbit her. You are born to govern yourself. Socrates taught that the unexamined life is not worth living, but the unexamined desire is even more dangerous. And nowhere is desire more camouflaged than in the realm of women. It wears the mask of devotion. It sings like truth. It dances like destiny. But it answers to something deeper. Survival, selection, instinct. You call it love, she calls it timing. In Phaedrus, Socrates warns that love, if ungoverned by reason, becomes a form of madness. Divine perhaps, but madness still. He tells us the soul pulled by lust becomes like a wingless creature, crawling in circles, obsessed with the source of its appetite. How many men now live in that loop? How many have sacrificed their mission, their values, their sovereignty? For what a fleeting glance, a dopamine fix in a soft voice and a warm body. You are not here to be devoured by the feminine. You are here to understand it. He observed that while men seek truth, women often seek alignment, not with truth, but with security. This is not an insult, it is a biological strategy. It is adaptive brilliance. but you must recognize it. She does not look for what is righteous. She looks for what ensures survival, what reflects strength, status, and stability in her world. Your intellect does not seduce her. Your ambition, your certainty, your command of your reality. That does, but if you hand her the crown before you wear your own, she will never kneel. If you elevate her above your mission, she will test you until you fall. She's not cruel, she's simply responding to what you have revealed, that your soul is for sale. Socrates believed the soul had 3 parts: reason, spirit, and appetite. The highest man lives where reason commands. But when appetite, sexual, emotional, social leads, the man dissolves, he no longer leads. He follows not her, but his hunger for her. You will know these men, you've seen them. Men who have no light unless she gives it to them. Men who kneel without asking what altar they're kneeling before. Men who would burn their principles to keep her warm. And you, if you do not awaken, will be one of them. Socrates was surrounded by those who confused noise for wisdom, beauty for virtue, charm for truth. He saw through it all, and when he challenged it, they killed him, but his voice still speaks. Not to the crowd, not to the Simpsons sycophants, but to you, the man who dares to see clearly. He saw that women by nature are more attuned to the present, to emotion, to safety, to the now, while men are cursed and blessed with the burden of the future. Your mind stretches forward. Your soul aches for legacy. Your bones carry the weight of vision. But vision is costly, and the feminine offers you a beautiful way to forget it, to trade it for comfort, warmth, and the illusion of peace. You must not, your peace must come from clarity. Not her compliance, she will test your frame. She will test your conviction. She will mirror your uncertainty back to you with alarming precision. And if you do not master yourself, she will master you again. Not with malice, but with exquisite instinct. Socrates taught not to hate the world, but to interrogate it, not to fear the forces that confuse us, but to illuminate them. So illuminate her, not with suspicion, but with understanding. She is not your anchor, she is the tide. Do you understand the difference? You must become a philosopher of your own instincts. Socrates warned in silence more than in speech. That man's downfall does not come from the spear or the state, but from the desires he refuses to study. And no desire haunts men more than the longing for the feminine mystery they do not understand. The tragedy of man is not that he needs her, it's that he doesn't know why he needs her. And in that blindness, he makes her into a god, and then blames her when she doesn't perform miracles. The truth, she was never meant to complete you. She was designed to test you. Engorges. Socrates dismantles the idea that pleasure is equal to good, that what feels right is right. He strips away the notion that validation, especially from others, especially from women, is a measure of virtue. And what he exposes is chilling to the modern man. Your pursuit of her approval is not noble. It is a symptom of your forgotten purpose. You do not need her eyes on you. You need your soul to stand upright in the dark. Men today are collapsing not from lack of talent, but from the rout of internal disorientation. They read her moods better than they read their own values. They recite the scripts she likes, but forget the words they once swore to themselves. You think you're being romantic. She thinks you've lost your edge. And she's right. She cannot love what she does not respect. And she does not respect what she can control. Socrates didn't spell this out in modern terms, but the architecture of his thought reveals it. He saw harmony not as equality of nature, but as each soul in its rightful order. A woman does not want to lead you. She wants to feel safe under your direction. But when you abdicate that post, when you make her emotions your compass, her approval your mirror, her affection your prize, you cease being a man and become a satellite. She may keep you around, but not because she wants to, because it's convenient, and one day convenience expires. The world is filled with men who thought they could win her love by worshiping her. But love is not won through worship. It is won through sovereignty. In Meno, Socrates asks whether virtue can be taught. But more importantly, he questions whether men even recognize it anymore. The same must be asked today. Do you know what masculine virtue is? Do you know what it looks like before you offer it to her? Or have you mistaken devotion for discipline, lust for loyalty, compliance for love? She doesn't want you broken. She doesn't want you needy. She doesn't even want you nice. She wants you real, and the real man does not orbit the feminine. He orbits the good, the true, the just, and invites her to walk with him. Only if she can move in rhythm with that orbit. When she sees you live by principle, not by persuasion, when she sees you speak with restraint, lead with clarity and love without losing yourself, she will follow not because you demanded it, because you deserved it. That is the paradox Socrates understood. Power does not come from seeking it. It comes from being the kind of man who does not need it from anyone else, especially from her. The moment you stop seeking her favor and start seeking your form, not the form of your flesh, but the form of your essence, you become untouchable, not because you are hardened, but because you are whole. Wholeness is the forgotten wealth of man. The temples of ancient Athens stood not for comfort, but for virtue etched in stone, measured in trials, whispered into the ears of men by the likes of Socrates. Know thyself, not please her, not serve her, not become what she desires, but know. For in knowing there is power, and in power there is peace. But most men today are not at peace. They are at war, not with her, but with the lie they tell themselves that her love will save them, that her body will cure their restlessness, that her smile is a substitute for selfhood. This is not love, this is intoxication. And every philosopher knows the drunk cannot see the truth. Socrates spoke often of forms, the ideal realities behind our earthly shadows. There is a form of womanhood, just as there is a form of manhood. But modern men chase only the shadow, the curves, the eyes, the promises made in perfume and posture. And they forget to ask, what does this form serve? What does it protect? What does it devour? She is not evil, she is efficient. She is not deceptive, she is adaptive. She is not broken, she is complex. She is calibrated for survival, not yours but hers. Her instincts are sharper than your fantasies. Her decisions are faster than your affections. And when your gaze is clouded by lust or longing, she sees what you do, not your weakness. Socrates never said this directly, but it's hidden in his dialogues. You are either governed by reason or governed by desire. There is no third kingdom. The man who falls into her without a map does not become free. He becomes lost, smiling, perhaps, but drowning in what is his fate to blame her for. The undertow he never trained for, but a man trained in reason. A man who has interrogated his instincts, who has stared down his thirst, who has unmasked the illusion before it seduced him. That man does not drown, he sails. She will respect him not because he is cruel, but because he is clear in symposium. Socrates speaks of Diotima, a woman who teaches him about love, not as pleasure, but as a ladder, ascending from the love of one body to the love of all beauty, to the love of wisdom, and finally to the divine. But most men never climb, they stay at the first rung. They rot in the pit of pleasure, never asking what it was meant to point them toward you. Listener, do not rot. You climb, she is the beginning of a question, not the end of your journey. She is the gate, not the kingdom. She is the wind, but you must be the sail. Your strength is not in overpowering her. It is in outgrowing the need for her to define you. Let her be mystery. Let her be paradox. Let her be woman, but you be man in the Socratic sense, measured, examined, enduring, unmoved by flattery, unbroken by rejection, and undistracted by the glitter of what fades. That is your path, that is your calling. And that is your dignity. Dignity is not gifted. It is forged in the heat of silence, in the weight of rejection, in the cold clarity of nights where no one is watching and no one is coming to save you. That is where Socrates would have you build. Not in her arms, not in her validation, but in your own unshakable inner court. The man who depends on her warmth to feel whole has no fire of his own. The man who bends his will to preserve her affection will eventually break, and she will not pick up the pieces, not out of cruelty, out of nature, because even she is looking for a man who does not need her, but chooses her with full awareness of what she is and what she is not. She is not your therapist. She is not your savior. she is not the mirror you used to see. If you matter, you want her to see you. Then stand where men rarely stand. In solitude, in discipline. In mastery, without the need to be seen at all. Socrates said, "The shortest and surest way to live with honor in the world is to be, in reality, what we would appear to be." And what does every man want to appear to be? Strong, wise, desired, respected. But how many are willing to do what it takes to actually become that? Do not chase her attention. Cultivate presence. Do not chase her body. Master your appetites. Do not chase her love. Offer her your truth, and let her respond as she will. This is what Socrates meant by the examined life. Not just thoughts, but motives. Not just philosophy, but posture. Not just knowing what the soul is, but knowing what your soul does when confronted with beauty, temptation, and rejection, because that moment when she tests you, when she pulls away, when she withholds, that is the sacred trial that is the arena. That is where most men fall to their knees and betray their own throne. But not you, you stand. You hold, you choose reason over reaction. You understand that she is not the obstacle. She is the signal if her affection shatters your focus. The weakness was already in you. If her silence breaks your spirit, the silence was always yours. Do not resent her for being what nature made her. Study her, learn her. Respect her design without surrendering to it. She is wind, remember, uncatchable, changeable, wild. But you are the mast. You do not rage when the wind shifts. You adjust your sail, that is manhood. Not control, not conquest, but unbreakable orientation. This is the secret the world will not tell you. This is the truth your schools and scripts and soft philosophies have buried under a pile of convenient lies. But Socrates, he whispered it still through every parable, every paradox, every poisoned cup, be unshaken. Because when you are unshaken, she will feel it not in fear, but in awe, and she will know this one cannot be moved. And when she knows you cannot be moved, she will do what her nature demands. She will orbit not out of submission, but selection, not as a prize to your posture, but as a response to your power. For women, in the truest sense, do not fall for men they align with them. They mirror strength, not sympathy. They follow rhythm, not words. They seek heat, not the flame that dances, but the one that endures. Socrates would never have begged for her loyalty. He would have simply become the man to whom loyalty is a natural response, because he understood the hierarchy of energies, that what is grounded governs what is fluid. And you, man, are not meant to chase water with empty hands. You are meant to build a channel and let it flow. The world today will tell you to submit to her emotions, to soothe, to please, to adapt, and in doing so, it tells you to betray the one law written into your bones. Do not bend unless bending is your will, because once you begin to fold to earn her favor, you'll fold again and again and again, until you are no longer a man but a memory. There is no equilibrium where self-betrayal is the currency of love. There is no intimacy without integrity. Do you want to know the kind of man a woman cannot leave? It is not the richest, not the most handsome, not the most poetic. It is the man who could walk away and still be whole. Because the moment she senses you cannot walk, that your soul is chained to her presence, that your fire dims when her light is gone, she knows you are no longer fire at all. You are a candle flickering, fragile and ultimately forgettable. But the man who holds his line, who smiles through rejection, who continues his mission regardless of her mood or her movements, that man becomes a gravity. She cannot help but feel it even when she runs. Socrates knew this, he lived it. While others debated in vanity, he dismantled illusion. While others sought applause, he sought alignment with what is true. And nothing is more true than this. A man's essence must be unmoved by the approval of others, especially the one he desires, because she will test your core, not to destroy it, but to locate it. When she raises her voice, do you crumble when she withholds her affection? Do you grovel when she threatens to leave? Do you lose your direction? These are not arguments, these are examinations. And every time you fail, she loses faith, not because you are unworthy, but because you have shown her that your kingdom is made of sand. She cannot trust a man who needs her more than he needs himself. You think the pain is punishment, but the pain is invitation to rise, to refine, to become the kind of man who can love without losing, who can lead without dominating, who can feel without falling apart. This is not stoicism in the empty sense. This is sovereignty. It is the masculine essence stripped of addiction. It is the soul of Socrates' calm, composed and impossible to control. And that, brothers, is the beginning of love that does not enslave. You are not made to kneel at the altar of affection. You are made to stand at the gates of truth and guard them with your life. This is what Socrates taught, not with slogans, but with sacrifice. In his final moments, he chose death over dishonor, silence over compromise, and truth over comfort. And what is that truth for you today? It is this: you must not fear her nature, nor seek to rewrite it. You must master your own. The woman is not the battlefield. She is the mirror, the test, the tension that reveals your fault lines. And most men fail because they were never taught that. The feminine is not here to complete your soul. She is here to challenge it. If you embrace that, she becomes the forge. If you resist it, she becomes the flame that burns you. Do not ask her to be simpler. Become wiser. Do not ask her to stay. Become the man she doesn't want to leave. Do not ask her to soothe your wounds. Heal yourself so deeply that your scars become scripture. In the end, Socrates gave no commandments. He asked questions, questions sharp enough to pierce the illusion, to wake the soul, to strip away every mask we wear. And if you dare to follow that path, you will lose things, illusions, addictions, entitlements, but what you gain is everything. You gain clarity, that rarest virtue in an age of noise. You gain calm, the kind of stillness that cannot be manipulated. You gain power not over others, but over yourself. And in mastering yourself, you will have already conquered the world. Let them call you cold. Let them call you distant. Let them say you are too detached, too logical, too firm. These are the cries of a world that fears men who cannot be bent, because such men do not obey trends. They do not fall to temptation. They do not sell their soul for a kiss. They stand, not because standing is easy, but because falling is no longer an option. And in that stance, you become a beacon. Other men will see you. They will remember who they were meant to be. And that ripple will reach farther than you will ever know. So to you, the man listening in silence, in reflection, in that ancient ache that only the wise feel, I say this: rise. Rise without rage, rise without apology. Rise without fear, not against her, but for yourself. Do not run from her tests. Do not resent her power. Simply meet it with something greater, your own unshakable being. And when you do, the game ends. The illusions die, the soul ascends. This message is not for the masses. It is for the few, the seekers, the builders, the kings without crowns who have not forgotten the fire. If you have felt the weight of these words, share them, let them echo. Like, subscribe, donate. Not to support me, but to support the truth, because men everywhere are starving for it. And if you've been fed, feed others. Let this be the start of your return, not to dominance, but to discernment. The world does not need louder men. It needs clearer ones. Be that man and walk forward unshaken.